Okay, welcome everybody back to People Planet Podcast by Fauna in Focus. Once again, I'm your host today, Dan, from Fauna in Focus, and today I am joined by Alizée, our guest speaker for episode 3. Thanks for coming on.
You're welcome.
So before we get started, I'll just give you a quick introduction to what People Planet Podcast is and why we started doing this. So this is a podcast all about, well, as you imagine, people, planet, and how they connect together. And so in these episodes, typically we're meeting with interesting people from Cambodia, but also from around the world, who are doing interesting things in science, nature, conservation, or education work. And so we've had a few episodes already, and you can find them all on our website, which is faunainfocus.org, and we'll have them available in audio and video formats. And in the future, we'll have them in Khmer and in English as well. So you can find ones that are interesting to you and download them and listen to them or watch them whenever you have time if you're interested in nature and these sorts of discussions. So, episode 2, we're probably going to be talking a little bit about another country for most of this interview. But maybe before we get started, you can just tell us a little bit about who is Alizée and what is her mission in life and what are you doing these days?
Okay, sure. So my name is Alizée Martin. I'm currently working in Borneo, the Indonesian part, which is called Central Kalimantan, to be precise. And I'm working for a foundation which is called Borneo Nature Foundation. It's been installed a long time ago because it started in 1999.
Okay.
And we are focusing really on research about different primates, but not only, we also have projects on butterflies, dragonflies. We have also the part of conservation with reforestation, dam building, firefighting, because unfortunately it happens more and more lately. So we have quite a broad missions, I would say, and a large team as well, working mostly with local people, with Indonesian, and different projects.
Cool.
About it.
So how did you, as a person, get interested in conservation or conservation research in the first place? To give us a little bit of your personal backstory and your motivation to work in this field.
Yeah. Well, it started quite early. I always knew I wanted to work with animals. Somehow I think I always knew I wanted to work with orangutans. Because this is one of my first memory, I think, being in front of a flange male, probably in a zoo, a blurry flange male. And then, I lately understood, this is why I really wanted to work with orangutans. And that was my proper goal, work with orangutans. Go to save orangutans in Borneo.
And so how did you start? Like, where did you begin your
So
adventure?
I began at university doing a biology bachelor degree. I had a few internships in zoo. It was really interesting because this is where I got to know more species, where I got to really appreciate behavior. I was creating enrichments also, so you're kind of the cool person when you create enrichments for animals. Because I start knowing why you come.
Sure.
So it was a really nice...
Can you tell our audience what is animal enrichment for the zoo condition?
So animals in captivity tend to develop behavior, I would say abnormal behavior due to stress. And enrichments are really here... To simplify, it can be taken as toys, but it's more to create, again, normal behavior to really... sorry, I don't find my word in English.
Yeah, no problem.
To stimulate animals and make them have behavior which are typical from the species. So it's quite important.
It's like you're trying to get them to do the same things and behaviors they would do in the wild, but in the captive environment.
For instance, if you have like carnivores, it's really interesting to put some smells, spice or herbs, so they're gonna kind of search where the smell comes from, and it's gonna trigger some part of their brain about maybe hunting even, if you put some prey smell.
Cool. Awesome. And so your first kind of introduction to this was mostly from behaviors and animal enrichment in zoos.
Yeah.
And then what?
So then I did a master degree in animal behavior, but I also went to Norway to actually have really proper course about conservation, because in France of course there is a lot of conservation, but not that many universities propose that. And for instance, in my bachelor degree, my university didn't really have that, so I just went to Norway to learn about conservation. It was quite cold, but it was really nice, really beautiful, beautiful landscapes. So yeah, it was a nice time.
Did you get to go out and explore Arctic ecosystems a little bit?
Well, I've been to some hidden places in the wood. So yeah, we definitely knew there were some bears around. We didn't see them, unfortunately.
Okay.
But yeah, we saw some lemmings,
cool.
some interesting wildlife as well, and landscapes. Yeah.
And then so after Norway?
So after Norway, I came back, and then I moved in different universities in France, again to follow my wish of conservation, animal behavior, and I did an internship later on in Brazil.
Oh, so the opposite of Norway.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was really hot.
So from ice cold to tropical hot.
Exactly. Quite tough to adapt.
And what were you doing in Brazil?
Well, I was studying sloth.
Sloths?
Yes. So sloths are not primates. Many people are confused about that.
That's right.
It's not primates. It's probably wrong pronunciation. Xenarthra?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Xenarthra.
Okay.
Although Xenarthra, in my understanding, is a very mishmash group. They kind of just throw a bunch of animals that they're not sure about.
Yeah. Well, most of them have very long claws.
Okay, that's right. So Xenarthra is anteaters?
Yeah, anteaters. Again.
Sloths and...
What's the name in English? I'm not sure about the name in English, but yeah. Yeah, you find quite a few
armadillos,
in South...
No?
Armadillos. That's the name I was searching.
I thought they had their own group, no?
Nope.
Oh, okay. So tell us about sloths.
Well, sloth behavior... Well, to be honest, of course, it's a lot of sleeping, resting.
Uh-huh.
But it was actually very interesting as well, because sloth, even if everybody knows sloth, but scientific world doesn't know much about sloth. So, for instance, when I did my bibliography, that was complicated.
So there's not much research done.
There's not much paper about them, because they are not threatened, and they don't cause any damage. And many times when a species is really well known by a scientific community, it's because they are threatened, or they cause damage, or there is something super interesting that helps you to create maybe medicine or stuff like that. But sloths are just there somehow.
Yeah, poor sloths.
Yeah, exactly. But it was really interesting.
How long were you studying sloths?
6 months.
Wow.
And it was actually interesting, because most species in 6 months you don't discover anything.
Right.
The ones that are kind of well known.
Right.
With sloths, I discovered a lot. I discovered they fight. I discovered they groom each other.
Wow.
I discovered instead of being solitary, which most of the papers say, I could see so many of them in the same tree, and it was not a resource matter, because there were the exact same species of trees all around. But they would just stay all together in one tree.
Wow.
So
which species of sloth is this?
The Bradypus variegatus, so three-toed sloth.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many species of sloth are there? 2 or 3 or something?
Oops.
I
No, there is more. There is more.
More?
3,
okay.
maybe.
I don't remember.
But to check.
Yeah.
Not sure about that.
That's fine. And then so you ended up here in Cambodia, but before now, this is your second trip to Cambodia.
Yes. So actually, I worked a bit in Cambodia in a sanctuary. My goal was to create social groups of macaques that were captive, trying to make groups without too many conflicts, even if within macaques it's quite normal to have conflicts, because they need to determine who's the dominant, who's not. Sometimes it can change depending of who gets older. So that was my goal. But then I had an opportunity to go to work with orangutans in Indonesia, and that was my dream.
She said, "Lisan, hi, Cambodia."
Sorry, Cambodia. Sorry, macaques. I really like you, but that was my dream. So awesome. I just left for Indonesia.
And how long ago was that?
It was back in 2016.
So you've been in Indonesia since then, basically?
I came back to France from time to time to go back to civilization a bit.
Okay.
But yeah, this is calling me back all the time.
So tell us about your work in Borneo now with the Borneo Nature Foundation. Like what does a day look like, a typical day? And tell us about your life there.
So typical days are actually kind of all different because we have so many projects going on. So one day you're gonna be in the forest with a net trying to catch dragonflies and damselfly because we have a project about them. And another day you're gonna wake up at 3 a.m. to listen to gibbon songs to assess how many groups we have in the area.
Oh, that's awesome.
And another day you're gonna follow an orangutan, and another day you're gonna build a dam to block a canal to protect peat swamps. And
so what is a peat swamp?
Oh, peat swamp. So we work in an area which is peat swamp forest. It's basically like decay material that just pile up within years, but it doesn't. It's half decayed somehow. So it just makes those massive piles. For instance, our peat swamp, it can be about more than 12-15 meters deep.
Wow. And that's all just trapped
matter.
Trapped organic matter.
Exactly.
Probably a lot of methane and carbon in there as well.
Exactly, it's a massive source of carbon. So it's really important for the environment. Many people don't know much about peat swamp. Before studying peat swamps, many people thought, oh, this is so flooded, this is not a good environment for wildlife. And then by studying this area, we realized actually we have a lot of wildlife. Wow. That's really interesting environment to study. It's highly threatened because the problem also, as I said, it can be 15 meters deep. So if it starts burning, for instance, if it's dry, it can burn 15 meters deep as well.
And it's a flammable ecosystem, I would imagine. Even though we think often the wet area is no problem for fire, but actually, just like in Cambodia with the flooded forests, can be quite susceptible to fire.
Yeah.
So peat swamps probably even more so.
Peat swamps, yeah. Especially I was talking about those dams that we built because before, when there was still a lot of illegal logging in this area, we managed to stop everything now because it's been again implemented since a long time. So we don't have illegal logging in this area anymore, but we still have those canals that were used to actually dig the timber out of the swamps.
Oh, so they would
instead
float
of carrying,
the timber. Okay.
They would just build canals and then it just take out of the forest.
Wow.
So now we need to build dam to block all those canals that's actually
draining the swamp,
drain the swamp.
But not in a good way. Not draining the swamp in a good way.
We need to stop that.
Yeah, we need to keep the swamp where it is.
Exactly.
And so what type of animals live in this swamp?
So we have a very large population of orangutans. Our estimation by nest survey observation is about 6,000.
Wow.
So
how big is this area, this forest area?
I need to check again because we are part of a national park. I don't want to say a wrong number.
What is the name of the park?
Sebangau National Park.
Sebangau. Okay.
Yeah. In this area we estimate population around 6,000. We have individuals that we follow quite regularly. We can see quite often females with newborns, pretty healthy population.
So it's a healthy population, yeah.
Yeah. Same with gibbons. We have white-bearded gibbons. And
I always wanted to see them.
So we do have habituated. So habituated means, it doesn't mean that you can go and touch the animal. Not at all. It's just that those animals are used to have people observing them. It takes a very long time, so they don't flee. They are still very careful. They check on you if you are a bit too close, but you can observe them. You can take data on them without them fleeing away as soon as they hear us.
Right.
So we do have habituated orangutans, habituated gibbons. So we can observe group of gibbons.
And are these wild animals that were habituated, or rescued animals that were habituated then reintroduced, or a mix, or
All wild.
all wild?
All wild.
Okay, so no rescue center,
No rescue center.
So it's purely a wild research station.
Exactly.
Okay, cool, awesome.
So yeah, gibbons. We have pigtail macaque mostly. We don't really have long tail.
So is it the same species of macaque that we have? Because we have a samban. Do you know? We have the pigtail macaque species in Cambodia. Was it northern pigtail macaque, right, in Cambodia?
Nemestrina. Macaca nemestrina.
Yeah, I think it's the same one.
Yeah, probably.
With the kind of
Yeah.
the flat head.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we do have those group of macaques. Those ones are not really habituated, but it's most us that will flee away if there are too many around. We have clouded leopards. We do have we have a project with camera traps, and we managed to identify 15 males that are very often in the area that we survey.
Does that mean there's 15 females also, or more than 15?
So we
females?
don't have females on the camera traps. So we think they are more shy, probably a bit further. We don't know exactly
I don't know anything
why they are not around. We know they are here, otherwise we wouldn't have any clouded leopards.
But are they social or solitary?
No,
most
solitary.
cats are solitary, yeah.
They're solitary, so they have territories, and we suspect that maybe because we have quite a lot of males around, maybe that's something that the females actually stay further away because of territory as well.
Okay.
We are not sure. Yeah.
Clouded leopards are beautiful.
Yes, and we do have some crossing camp from time to time. I've never seen any by myself, but we do have camera traps that are like 100 meters from camp. We have boardwalks, and it was definitely walking in the direction of camp to reach another boardwalk. So
okay.
Some of my colleagues that are here for some time almost stepped on clouded leopard.
They're quite arboreal. I remember learning that about leopard cats, is they spend a lot of time in the trees, hunting and moving in the trees. And so maybe that's why they like your boardwalks, because it's like a...
Maybe. Actually, many animals like our boardwalks, just like us, because it's really complicated to walk in the peat swamps. It's flooded. Sometimes you walk, you have water until here. So it's complicated. So when you have boardwalks, animals are just like us. It's so much easier to use a boardwalk. Why crawling in the peat swamp? I don't want to get my feet wet. Exactly. Actually, I do have a record of a clouded leopard walking on the boardwalk and missing a part, and then onwards.
Good, nice. Yeah.
Proper cat.
Yeah, proper cat. Yeah, exactly.
And sun bears.
And sun bear also.
We do have sun bears. We do have red leaf monkeys, hornbills, snakes.
Oh. Venomous snakes?
Venomous. Pit vipers, nice. King cobras.
Good. Good. That just makes it more exciting in camp, right?
Yes.
So you mentioned that you not only were collecting data on primates, but also on dragonflies and damselflies. Why is a primate research place doing dragonflies and damselflies?
So we are not like a primate research place. We are really like biodiversity, environment in general. And the thing with dragonflies, damselfly, we also have butterflies, is that it's much easier to get a large amount of data with those kind of animals. Because orangutans, you're gonna, first it's difficult to find. You're gonna find an orangutan in one day. You can find 500 damselfly and dragonfly in one day. Well, not even, in a few hours. So they are very important also because those are bioindicators. So they're gonna tell you basically if the environment is doing fine or not, depending on the species you find, depending on the amount you find. And why dragonfly and butterfly? Because butterfly are terrestrial, but what we don't always know about dragonflies is that they spend most of their lifespan as nymphs.
Right,
So
in the water.
In the water.
Right.
So it's our water bioindicator.
Okay, so basically you're gauging the health of the whole ecosystem through your insect and invertebrate surveys, because you get just much more data sets because they're insects and they're everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. And dragonfly because they're aquatic for most of their life.
Aquatic, yeah,
Very
exactly.
Cool. And in a peat swamp, I guess understanding what's going on under the water is just as important as what's going on above the water. Very interesting.
And because we have also like areas which are, since the logging that happened, we have areas that are just recovering really fine, that are not disturbed anymore. And we had massive fires in 2015, so we have a burn area, and we actually survey both with a dragonfly and damselfly to see which species are where. And this is also, like, if we know these species tend to be in disturbed area, then if it starts coming here, there might be a problem.
I see. So some species would actually prefer an ecosystem that is more open.
Like an open area.
Okay, yeah. Sure. Awesome. Mm-hmm. Very cool. All right, I'm sure you've been itching to tell us more about orangutans this whole time. So tell us about your work with orangutans. What are you studying? What are you finding? And what do you do?
So orangutans, right now we study their behavior. So again, because they are habituated, we can observe them, we can take data on them. So this is quite a hard job, to be honest, because orangutans wake up very early in the morning. And you need to be here before they wake up to start dating.
What time is that?
Well, if it's close from camp, we can leave, let's say, at 4:30 in the morning.
So all of you that want to be primatologists, make sure you are a morning person.
Yes, or become a morning person.
Or become a morning person, that's right.
So yeah, we every time we find an orangutan. So let's start by the beginning. We go in the forest. We know, because we observed some orangutans for some time already, we know, okay, this orangutan is often in this area because they have territories. So if it's been, let's say, it's been a few months we didn't observe Georgia, we're gonna probably go in this area and be like, okay, we're gonna try to find Georgia and search. So it's basically walking on transect. Transect are paths in the forest, which make it easier to walk. And we're gonna listen a lot. It's not always just finding them by seeing them. It's a lot by hearing them, sometimes by smelling them. And then once we hear an orangutan, we go at the location, we try to determine who it is. We take pictures a lot because it's very important to have also like ID books of each orangutan, and see also, like, for instance, sometimes we can see, seems skinnier than last time, and then we can go back to the pictures we had and be like, oh no, actually it's fine, or be like, oh yeah, definitely skinnier than before, or pregnant, because vagina gets swollen, so sometimes if they are quite high you cannot see, but on the picture you can see that. And then we start observing, taking data. So it's taking data every 5 minutes, because orangutans are not, I would say, like, I don't know, like marmots that are jumping around all the time. Orangutans, usually, if they start feeding, they're gonna feed for some time. If they start resting, they're gonna rest for some time.
So is it an instantaneous focal follow?
So it's every 5 minutes that we take data.
I've got the primate field methodologies in primate right here.
Okay.
You know this book? This is a great, grab this green book right here. Yeah, this is a great book. If you want to be a primatologist, this is a great book to have.
Okay, well, yeah.
Yeah, there it is. Sales pitch. Whoever wrote this book, you owe me a commission. Advertising commission. Very cool. Yeah, this I wanted to discuss this because this is actually what I studied when I was in university as well. So I'm always very interested to hear about people that are actually going out and doing it, because I haven't done it in so long and I miss it and it makes me sad. So I always get excited to hear about it from other people that are still doing it.
So yeah, then we take data until they go to sleep.
The whole day, from 4 a.m. until what time do they go to sleep?
It depends. Some of them can go pretty early, so maybe around 4:30 or even earlier.
In the afternoon.
Yeah, in the afternoon.
And they build a nest?
They do build a nest.
Every night?
Every evening.
They don't use the same one again and again?
It happens from time to time that they will use a nest which is already existing. Sometimes they rebuild it to make it more comfortable. But most of the time they build a new nest every evening.
Wow.
And that's how we assess population, by
That's
counting
so cool.
the nest.
So I wanna share a little short story about an organization called Conservation Drones, because I'm a nerd and I love drones. They have an amazing TED Talk that they did that you can find. It's from 5-6 years ago or something. But they were testing drones for conservation, specifically for doing orangutan surveys. And they were basically flying these drones over the forest, taking pictures of the canopy, tree canopy, and then an artificial intelligence program would automatically stitch the photos together, and this is much higher resolution than satellite imagery, because you're just flying a drone right there, right over the trees, just 20 meters above the tree line. So you had these amazing high resolution images stitched together, and then an algorithm was trained to identify the dead nests, because they when they make the nest, it's like they rip off the leaves and stuff.
Yeah, so they break the leaves, the branches. Some of them do very good nests. Some of them will do like some kind of pillow, some kind of blanket.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Some of them make sure there are some leaves above in case it rains. Some of them are very simple, but it depends on the individuals.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So I guess after a few days, these nests turn brown if the leaves are dead, and so from above you can actually film the dead nest, and actually this computer was basically getting this enormous amount of data and going, bloop, 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 bloop. There's all your nests, so here's your estimate, and it just looked so cool. Awesome. Yeah. And so I know that in Indonesia, forest fires are a huge threat to wildlife all across the country.
Yes.
And you said you'd also had some fires in your area. Can you tell us a little bit more about Indonesian fires? Why does it happen? What's it for, and what's the impact on your area?
Yeah, so of course global climate change is a massive problem for fires, because it's getting hotter and hotter, so more fires. Because fires are not always a problem. Like some places will get fire. This is kind of normal. We heard about some forests that actually somehow need fire to recover.
Sure.
I cannot remember the exact location.
I think there's examples from all around the world, different ecosystems that require fire to crack the sea or something.
So for Indonesia, it always happened that there were some fires during dry season, but now we have some years that are just getting completely out of control. It can be also for clearing land, unfortunately, for monoculture.
What does monoculture mean?
It means it's the culture of only one species.
So agriculture, but for one species.
Yes.
What species?
So monoculture, palm oil. Palm trees in Indonesia are really threatening the environment, because there's a massive demand worldwide on palm oil, and plantations are a lot based in Indonesia on the island of Borneo. So we do have threats because of this. Also, for instance, we have some years called El Nino year. So those years, it creates it's a full event that just the result in Indonesia is that it's really hot. We don't have rain, because Indonesia, even during dry season, we are supposed to have a storm at least let's say around once a week. So it's never dry.
Season?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's not like
Borneo.
that in Cambodia.
So we do have rain even during dry season.
But not now.
But during those El Nino year, we don't have any rain, and then the water level goes down very, very quickly. And this is where any single, even someone smoking and not paying attention and throwing the cigarettes, that can lead to a massive fire. We do have a team, a conservation team of firefighters. So for instance, 2015, that was an El Nino year. We had quite a big part of our research area that burned. But 2019, we also had fires, but because we have this firefighting team, we have more and more local people, local community joining during the fire season to help fighting the fires. So we managed to actually have no forest burned. It was damaged area that burned again, but we didn't lose forest this time because of this very good organization. Everybody knew exactly what to do, to call each other, to say, okay, we did a patrol, there's a fire at this place, we need this amount of people coming to help us.
It's always nice when you can put into practice something that you put into real life, something that you practiced, and say, okay, it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that must have been a bit reassuring. If something happens again, you know what to do.
Yeah, so those patrols also are very, very important. Having people patrolling the forest to see any single smoke haze coming and directly stop it.
Awesome, very cool. So tell us about your favorite moment with orangutans, or a crazy moment with orangutans, or a special moment with orangutans that you've had in Borneo.
So, yeah, so before I worked for another foundation called Boss Foundation, and I worked with rehabilitated and released orangutans, and some of them were very friendly, some of them were actually completely unfriendly, because orangutans, usually they are captive, taken from the mother, so the mother is usually killed, and then they are kept captive as babies.
This is like for the illegal wildlife pet trade.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
And then this foundation will go to discuss with the person, explain that they need to give the orangutan, that it's not a good life. And then there's at least 10 years of rehabilitation. So it's a very long process, because
I think
the orangutan...
a lot of people don't realize how long of a process it is, especially for primates and especially for orangutans.
For orangutans, exactly, because it's a solitary species. So the babies, they spend around 8 years with their mother to learn everything, to learn how to build a nest, to learn what is dangerous in terms of wildlife. For instance, they need to know, don't touch a snake, because it can be dangerous. They need to learn which plants you can eat, which ones are toxic. So there are many things to learn. So when an orangutan is taken from the mother at a very early age, then it has to learn all of this. So we have, there were some nannies that would teach the orangutan how to make a nest, what to eat, to be scared of a snake.
So you literally have to basically replace the mother with a
Exactly.
human mother as well.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of work.
That's a lot of work, a lot of motivation. Actually, all the nannies are themselves mother.
Okay.
Because they need to know, like children.
Yeah.
You need to be here, but you need also to put some limits.
Actually, I think even a human baby is less than 9 years of intense work, right? Maybe after 5-6 years, mostly can take care of itself, right? I don't know, I'm not a parent. Samban is shaking his head. No, he disagrees. More than 9 years, huh?
Depend on the country.
Depend on the country, or maybe depend on the baby, yeah?
Probably. So after they learn, so they go to orangutan jungle school every day.
Jungle school?
Yes.
Oh, we've got one of those. It's not quite the same.
And they learn all of this, and some of them unfortunately won't be able to go back to the wild, because some of them don't manage to really learn, the trauma is too deep. But most of them, they can actually then go back to the wild and enjoy life in the forest. But again, there's still a trauma. So just like humans, some rehabilitated and released will be completely fine in the forest, completely fine with observers. Some of them will search for contact. And of course, you don't want that. So it's always backing up until they give up. But some of them are just really, really annoyed by humans. They can be scared, they can be furious. So the craziest moment was when I had to run away from an orangutan 500 meters.
Wow.
Running, being chased by an orangutan.
Oh my gosh.
That was vocalizating at the same time.
And again, this is not likely to happen with a wild orangutan. This
No.
is the trauma of what happens to primates when they go through a captive
Exactly.
experience.
Yeah, it's really important to say exactly, because wild orangutans, the biggest threat is that if you come too close and you don't respect them, you don't respect that they might be scared, they might don't appreciate that, they will throw branches. If it's a big male, sometimes they even manage to throw a tree. But but this is the worst they can do. They won't chase you.
They probably wouldn't come down to the ground, I guess.
If really you still don't listen, they might. But if you just stand your ground, nothing will happen.
But not with rehab primates.
Not with rehab. With rehab, some days you have to run and you run fast.
Wow. Yeah, I can say I would love to. I've never been to Borneo. It's been on the top of my places to visit. But seeing wild orangutans has been a lifelong dream of mine as well. Not being chased by rehab ones, no, that doesn't sound fun at all. Yeah, but it sounds like an amazing experience.
Yeah, and you have also very powerful moments. Like when you know an orangutan has been through 10 years of rehabilitation, and suddenly your colleagues call you and tell you, this is your cage, open it. And you open a cage to an orangutan, and
they go out.
Go back to the wild.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool to see nature go back to nature
Yeah.
when it's been taken out unfairly. Yeah. Cool. Well, I guess the last question that I have for you is how can people find out more about Borneo Nature Foundation, and what can they do to help orangutans in their daily life?
So to find the Borneo Nature Foundation, we have a Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter. We have a website as well.
What's the website?
Borneo Nature Foundation.
Okay.
You just type and you're gonna find.
Okay.
And
we'll link it in the description of this video below. I'll probably also link a couple of the things that we were talking about throughout this discussion as well, like the TED Talk that we did with the conservation drones. And yeah, so and what can people do if they're like concerned about orangutans and conservation in Indonesia? How can me here in Cambodia, what can I do to change Indonesia, what's happening over there? How can I do something?
Well, donation is always something that organizations need, because it requires staff, a lot of staff. We have local staff. We have a few international, but mostly local. That's also the line of the foundation, to really empower local managers, local scientists, very important. So we need to pay all the salary. We need resources, for instance, for firefighting. We provided masks in the city. We provided masks, of course, of all the staff. We did provide masks also for COVID-19 to the communities to protect them. So all of this cost a lot of money. We need also equipment for our research project, camera traps, for instance. Unfortunately, we have a few naughty orangutans that really like to chew on the camera trap and throw them from the canopy. So it doesn't always resist to orangutans. All those equipments, also because we are working in peat swamp in very humid condition, doesn't last as long as it does in other conditions. So donations are pretty important for all of this. Sharing information, it's very important as well. So
I think we agree with that.
Even just people in front of the computer can make a difference by sharing some information. We have environmental education also for local school, etc. So very important, but this is more local action. And just be aware that our action do matter.
Yeah.
Like and before I started to really work in conservation, my family was like often saying, "Oh, it's not just what I do that will change anything. Okay, it's just a drop in the ocean.
Yeah.
But the ocean is full of drops.
Right. Oh, right.
So if any single person is careful about actions like maybe single-use plastic, that would be good to stop it for good.
And
All of this.
I will add that there's a great website that I cannot remember the name of, but I will find it and I will also link it below, that lists all of the products, especially food and soap products that use palm oil. And you can choose to buy a different product.
Yep.
You can choose to find a different solution, and if everybody does that, the demand for palm oil disappears. And okay, yes, one person is not going to change the global demand, but drop by drop, it can actually make a big difference. So, Samban, you have any question for Alizée before she goes? No? You have any question for Samban or me before you go?
Well, I wanted also to say that we do have volunteer programs and field course in our foundation. Of course, this is not the right timing at the moment, but we do have those kind of
more
opportunities.
For university students or anybody?
So yeah, we do have groups, especially some universities coming, but we really want to open to more and more field course to people that are not definitely at university, people that might want to change their project and start something in conservation.
Okay.
So yeah, this is pretty interesting because you can really take part in the research, follow our field team in the forest and just be part of it.
But you have to wake up at 4:30 in the morning.
Yes.
Remember that. So only serious applicants.
Yes. Unless you're really passionate by dragonflies, because of course we can understand that some people come and they are not really into butterflies, for instance. So if you're completely passionate about dragonflies, you can do dragonflies during this time.
You have a few different options of what people can do.
But it's more for volunteering. For field course, we really it's really like a program. We do have lectures. We have primate field course, but we do have more general field course.
Okay.
So it depends on.
Samban, you want to go on the field course?
Sorry?
You want to go on their field course?
Field course?
Yeah, in Borneo.
I want to pay.
Well, it depends. Indeed, again, it's something we need people to pay to come because we are restricted area, so not everybody can just show up in the forest. We need some permits. We need different stuff. So.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking about your work.
Well, thank you for having me as a guest.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a reminder to everybody, if you want to come on our podcast and join us for a discussion about something that you're doing, please do reach out to us, let us know. On the Fauna in Focus website, we have a page for People Planet Podcast, and we've got a button right there that will link you to our contact form so you can reach out to us. If you're doing something in environmental education, science, any sort of conservation work or research, this is the kind of things that we want to discuss here. And I think next week we'll be doing something with Osmos, who do a lot of conservation work on Tonle Sap Lake, and that will be in Kamai with Mr. Samban over there. So Alizée, thank you so much for coming to our nature center and coming on our podcast, and it was great to hear from you.
Yeah, it's always interesting also to see which foundation are doing what in different countries.
Yeah, there's a lot of it's nice to remember that we are
ideas.
Not alone.
Yes.
We are all in this together. It's not just
all doing environmental education.
Yeah, whatever your strategy is, at the end we all have the same goal, so it's nice to sit down and go.
Do you have any insight depending on your experience, do you have any insights to Cambodia people to focus on conservation throughout this broadcast project?
Yeah, what's your takeaway message for Cambodia?
Well, just realize the beauty of what you have, because money, business, it's a short-term thing. Natural resources are it's long term. Natural like ecosystem service. It's something that people tend to forget because people tend to go to supermarkets and don't really process where it comes from. But ecosystem service is what ecosystem provide to us. It provides everything. So destroy ecosystem, it's destroying yourself.
That's right.
So yeah.
Because of my country is young about conservation, that's why depend on your experience. Like I just want to ask you about if you have any goal mistake. Sometimes your goal mistake is short, sometimes, but very good, very useful for remind to change my people in to work on conservation or studying on conservation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a new field in Cambodia, but hopefully a growing one. We need more and more people to get involved in some way.
Yes, because you
And
said you're not alone. That's why you are from Borneo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in my country, I'm not alone because Borneo people suddenly say Cambodia back up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's right. Everything is connected.
Yeah.
Actually, we're all on Earth, so.
Yes. And don't think that it can be done later.
Yeah.
Later.
Later's too late. Has to be done now.
Now, new generation, we need you.
Let's go. Okay, thank you so much for staying with us for People Planet Podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alizée, for coming on. Thanks, Saman, for helping with the camera.